I'm Drew Davey, and I did my final project, PowerPoint, on fatigue in pilots. So we can get this started. So fatigue in pilots. So first of all, I'll start with the definition of fatigue, and see me looking down. I got some, notes on here that I prepared, so I didn't have 1,000 things on the screen. So this is directly from our class book, the Commercial Aviation Safety 6th edition, from Chapter 3, Humans as the Challenge. And this Chapter 3 goes along best with my presentation and my topic, because it talks about humans being the challenge, and you can get electronics to do what you want when they say, for the most part, when you want, but there's always a human factor. So from the book, you had two kind of definitions of it. You had weariness from mental or bodily exertion, and decreased capacity or complete inability of an organism or an organ or a part to function normally because of excessive stimulation or prolonged exertion. So the first one is just saying mentally or physically. So like finals right now, I'm sure all the students are mentally exhausted, and kind of physically or the bodily wise is if for some reason I had a hard workout and that affected his ability to control the plane. Types of fatigue. These are also from our book, same chapter. You got transient, cumulative, and circadian. Transient is brought on by sleep deprivation or extended hours awake. Cumulative is repeated mild sleep restriction or tiredness due to being awake for extended hours across a series of days. So that one makes it mild and over a few days, not just one night you didn't get any sleep. And the final one would be the reduced performance during nighttime hours, between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. for those who are on a normal schedule. So you're normally awake in the day and sleep at night, and you get flip-flop. Facts about fatigue. So these are from also our book, and then I do have a few from the FAA website. So regulations limiting flight and rest time have been in place since the 1940s, and our book here had a couple good points. This one isn't aviation related, but it kind of shows how you can be affected by working too much. So fatigue-related mistakes that harmed patients went up 700% when residents reported working 5 marathon shifts in a month. So this is to nurses and people that are in our medical field working too much. And then sleep deprivation in pilots is shown to cause performance reductions equivalent to a blood alcohol level of 0.08. So sleep deprivation shows that can be as deadly or have the effects on us as being drunk. Fatigue management by ICAO standards, and we kind of talked about them in class. I won't really touch too much about them, but they support, and this is all from their website, they support 2 methods of managing fatigue. You got a prescriptive approach and a performance-based approach. Prescriptive requires the service provider to comply with duty time limits defined by the state specifically, while managing fatigue hazards using just general SMS processes. Where performance-based approach, which is what we'll dive into deeper, is it requires the service provider to implement a fatigue risk management system approved by the state. And that's one we're going to dive into more. Fatigue risk management plans. I might have said systems last, but plans. and they have to not only follow them, but they have to develop their own and then have them approved in the whole process and implement them. And this is all risk management plan. So FRMP, this is all from our book. In 2010, the President of the United States signed a law that made it mandatory for each air carrier operating under Title 14 of the Code of Federal Regulation, Part 121, to implement these fatigue risk management plans. They also added a few recommendations, including shift rotations, which the recommendation with shift rotations would be no less than 10 hours. Using scheduling tools, so they want to utilize modeling and scheduling tools to assist in mitigating fatigue promoting schedules. So they want to try to teach them and have schedules that help you fight having a schedule that makes you work too hard. They also want to educate schedulers and workforce about issues regarding shift work and fatigue. So just keeping everyone informed and educated that you can work too much and it can be harmful. And then they also want to promote application of personal and operational counter fatigue strategies. So not only do you want to educate them, you want to help them apply these strategies that fight fatigue and keep you awake. So continued from that 2010 proposal, these were from the FAA website, Federal Aviation Administration. So they want a 9-hour minimum rest time, and that is 1 hour more than what it was. It was at 8 hours. You want 30 consecutive hours per week free from all duty, so consecutive 30 hours. And that it was at 24 hours, so they bumped that up to 30. 100-hour max flight time in 28 days. It was in 30 days, so that actually takes down quite a bit. And then a 13-hour duty period between rest periods, and it was 16 hours you were working between your 2 rest periods. And pictures just typical work schedule. A lot of time to do other things, not always in aviation. Who, when, where, and why. So everyone involved in aviation is affected by fatigue. You got the air traffic control, pilots, crew on the plane along with the ground crew is all affected by it. Being tired can harm. So with around-the-clock flight, fatigue can hit at any time. It's pretty self-explanatory. Doesn't matter when you're tired. If you're working at that time, you can mess up and harm people. In aviation, fatigue can be deadly. Can be a deadly thing anywhere. Few examples with air traffic control. They're tired and miss something. They could cause a collision, which could kill people. Pilots obviously could crash with your crew members. If there was an emergency and they were tired, they might miss something or not remember correctly how to get people off, and not thinking clearly might get more people killed in the emergency. And ground crew can be injured. We watched videos and saw pictures in class of a guy not paying attention and walked right in front of the engine and went right through it. One wrong move can be fatal to hundreds of people at once. We've kind of what our whole class has been over, with just one I could think of in particular, when there was the 2 pilots and 3 people in the cockpit, and one of the lights when they flipped the switches didn't go on, and all 3 of them were so worried about that light they didn't realize the auto steer, I'm an ag major, autopilot kicked off, and they ended up crashing and killing everyone. So not necessarily a fatigue there, but one wrong move can kill hundreds. These are my APA sources. I used our book a lot, and then I used the Federal Aviation Administration site, and I also was on the ICAO. Thank you.